Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is to walk through the online renewal process, both from a member and a leadership team perspective, to find out how this process works. Please keep in mind that this particular process is an optional process in BNI and it is not being used by every region. So if you're unsure if you're processing online renewals through BNI Connect in your region, please do first speak with your executive director or director consultant before looking for some of these options. That being said, I will be going through the process today. I'm going to show you how to submit an application, a renewal application that is, through BNI Connect, and also how that application is processed by the membership committee and leadership team to then approve the application. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things today. The first of which is that this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions at all as we're going through the material, please do feel free to ask those questions. As I'm going through the material, I'll see the question pop up on my screen and I will be able to answer that question as we're going through it. If it's something that's completely and totally unrelated, I'll save that question towards the end of the session. We're scheduled for approximately 30 minutes. This one actually usually comes in a little bit under 30 minutes. So there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. That being said, this is what I do all day, every day. I talk about BNI Connect. I answer questions about BNI Connect. So if you do have questions, please feel free to ask as many as you'd like, whether it's about the online renewals or anything else in BNI, well, BNI Connect anyway, and I will spend as much time as needed to get through every single question. You'll also notice that there is a handouts section. There's 3 handouts as part of this presentation. You're welcome to download all of those. One is a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. There's also a couple of help documents for how to approve and how to submit a renewal application. This is going to be a combination of both PowerPoint and live demonstration. This webinar is also being recorded, so you'll be able to find the recording on our support site, support.bniconnect.com, which you can access by clicking the question mark within BNI Connect. You can also find all of our recordings on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, well, enough of the housekeeping stuff. Let's take a look at how this online renewal process works. So just on a very brief overview here, here's what the renewal process looks like. First, a member completes a renewal application. The second part is that the renewal is reviewed and approved, and finally, the renewal is reconciled at the regional office. The online renewal process is exactly the same as the paper process. But let's take a look at how this works. So from a member standpoint, what does the renewal process look like? So how does a member go in and do their renewal? There's actually 4 different opportunities, 4 different ways that a member can start this online renewal process. The first way is that they get a renewal reminder email. By default, this goes out 60 days before their membership is due. So 60 days before they're due, they will get an email saying, hey, Johnny, by the way, you are set to renew your membership in 60 days. Would you like to start that renewal process now? If they click on the link within that email, they can go in and start that renewal process. The second way is that most regional websites will have a link on the regional website that says, hey, renew now. Click this button. It'll make them log into BNI Connect. This is a form that you have to log into BNI Connect for, but it will then process that renewal application. The third way is that on the home screen, so as soon as you log into BNI Connect, right up at the top section of the screen, you will see a button that says Renew Now. You can start it that way. And then the next way is on your profile. So within the screen of your profile where it says what chapter you're in, there is a Renew Now button there as well. And there's actually a 5th way, and that is if your chapter pre-approves you, you will be sent an email saying, congratulations, you've been pre-approved. Would you like to renew now? All right, so this is a copy of the renewal reminder email, the default one anyway, unless your region has customized that. It just lets you know what chapter you're in. There's a link here that says Renew Now, and then there's also a link at the bottom that says Renew Now. On the regional website, this is just a couple of examples. Your regional website may be different, but for example, on Minnesota, they have the Renew Now button in blue on the left side. In the Heartland regions, Nebraska, etc., they have the Renew Now button in red. And then this is BNI Arizona that has put the Renew Now button. So it just depends on the aesthetics of the website. So let's take a look. How does this look to a member? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to log in as a member. I have a bunch of test accounts up in Antarctica. Actually, it's down in Antarctica. Let me log in as one of my members there. I'm going to log in as Ricky Martin. And let's take a look at what this looks like for Ricky Martin. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys have a little bit of a bigger screen here. So once logged in, you can see that right here at the top, once online renewals are enabled in your region, you can just click the Renew Now button here. Now again, if I click Renew Now on the website or if I click Renew Now in the email, it's all going to start the same process. And again, when I click Renew Now, I get the application. Now you can choose either 1 year or 2 year. In Antarctica, we are charging $2.50. It's actually 2.5 squids in Antarctica. And we have to answer some questions. Now the questions that I'm asking in Antarctica for members may be slightly different than the questions that you will be asked in the United States or in the United Kingdom or wherever else you might be a member. So we just need to answer those. Go through them, check them off. Anything with an asterisk, of course, is a required question, whereas some of the other ones may be optional. At this point, I can also check and update my member details. So if I click the little plus button here, this will give me an opportunity if the name is spelled incorrectly or if I've changed the name of my company or if I am looking to apply for a different profession or specialty or update my product service description. That now is the opportunity to do so, just like you would on a written application. Now keep in mind that it is not automatic that you are approved if you decide to change any of these things, and the membership committee and the director consultant and the regional office and the secretary treasurer and the vice president, they'll all be sent a special notification, especially if you change any of these things that have a red pound sign next to them. If you're okay with everything, just go ahead and say, I have read and understood all of the BNI general policies, and at this point we can proceed to payment. So now that application has been submitted and we can proceed with our payment. So we can choose how we are going to pay, whether that's going to be if online credit cards are enabled in your region, you'll be able to choose that. In Antarctica, we only accept payment by check. So we're asking people to hand deliver that check to the local office. If he's not there, just ask for Steve. So that's how we're doing it. Again, in our region, your region will have their own instructions, whether that is to please hand that to the secretary treasurer or please put it in an envelope and mail it, or if they have another way to process those payments. Now, once I've clicked submit, thank you for applying to renew, and your membership committee has been notified and will contact you when a decision has been made. From a member standpoint, that process is now complete. I've done everything I need to do as a member in order to renew my application. It took all of about 30 seconds or so. So just to review, the member goes in, they complete their renewal application, they choose a payment type, and then finally notifications are sent. And towards the end of the webinar today, I will show you all of the notifications there. So there are quite a few emails that go around notifying all of the people involved in the process of where we stand in that process. All right, so now what we need to do though is we need to switch hats. So from a member perspective, they've done what they need to do. So the next step of this is that the leadership team, generally speaking, it's going to be the membership committee and the vice president. They need to take action on this. Here's just some notes about the renewal approvals. It's important to know that each online renewal must be approved online in BNI Connect. So the paper renewal process, that all happens offline. The online renewal process happens online, and you can't proceed without that happening. So the regional office, for example, can't finalize the payment and finalize the transaction until that approval process and payment process has taken place. They can be full, conditional, or in some cases, a member might be denied their renewal. There's also, depending on your region, there's different ways that you can either do a pre-approval, so that means the member hasn't submitted their application yet, but you can go in and say, hey, you know what, when they submit this application, we're going to take them. So you can do a pre-approval. You can do a conditional approval. So that means they submitted their application and maybe you're renewing them under probation. Now, the terms of a conditional approval are completely up to you as a region, as a chapter. So we don't really record much about what that probation or what that condition may look like, just the fact that it is conditional. And finally, again, in some cases, it may be that the membership committee has met and they have rejected that renewal application. All of that has to happen in BNI Connect. Now, keep in mind, it's not a voting process in BNI Connect. It is just recording the decision of the membership committee. So the only person that usually has to log in and record this is going to be the vice president. The whole membership committee does not have to log in and do this. They have their meeting, usually following a BNI meeting, to make their discussion, and then the vice president goes back and renders the decision. And again, if you're on here from the regional office standpoint, they will be in the reconcile applications in the pending phase until both of those things have been done. The payment has been made and a decision has been rendered. So as I mentioned, there is a pre-approval process, meaning that if I know that a member is going to be renewing, and let's say I'm on the membership committee, we've already had our discussion about the members that are due in 90 days, the vice president can go in and render that decision ahead of time. So there's two different ways that that can happen. The first of which is they'll get that renewal reminder email. That by default goes out at 90 days. So 90 days before there are members in the chapter that are due for renewal, the vice president, the membership committee, the director consultant, they get an email saying, hey, these 2, 3, 4 people of your chapter are due in 90 days. Please go ahead and review their memberships, and if you'd like to pre-approve them, click here. The second way is that it's always available from the membership dues report. So again, this is the pre-approval process. Let's take a look at how this looks from a leadership team standpoint. So I'm going to pull up BNI Connect again. Now, Ricky Martin here is just a member, so let me log out as Ricky Martin. And I'm going to log in as the vice president of my chapter. So I'm going to log in as Alfred E. Newman. So that's Alf. Alfred E. Newman from Mad Comics. He is my vice president of that chapter. So again, if we click the link in the email, that's fine. Or we can always go to reports. Got myself confused there. Reports. And then we have the membership dues report. Again, reports and then the membership dues report. All right. And hopefully my membership dues report will show up for me here. And here we go. So here, this is going to list all the people in my chapter and when they're up for renewal. Now, the people that are in bold here, so Jacob Goodwin and LWM Brand Senior are up for renewal in the next 2 months. That's why they're in bold here. And then we have the people that are due out even further. So for example, Harvey Keitel is due in 90 days. Now, Harvey Keitel is a really good member, and we're pretty sure we're going to approve him. We've had our meeting. We've had our discussion. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pre-approve him. I click on this little red head, and you can see it pops up and says pre-approve member. This opens up a new window. And actually, I had already pre-approved Harvey. So we can see that he's already pre-approved. So let me go back and choose somebody else here. And let's say I'm going to pre-approve Chuck Kronos here. Now, Chuck's due out more than 90 days, so it is giving me a little bit of a warning saying this member is outside of the normal time period. Please review the renewal period. But at this point, I can see his stats. If I click on training details, this will take me to his profile. So I can go and I can review his profile. I can see that he hasn't taken any training. As a matter of fact, I can see Chuck really hasn't filled out his profile at all. Hasn't filled out his bio. Doesn't have any testimonials, but you know what? We're going to pre-approve him anyway. In order to pre-approve him, we do have to check this first box that says, by checking this box, I certify that all necessary membership performance reviews and discussions have taken place. I can choose whether or not the approval is conditional or if we sent any control letters. And finally, I click the button to pre-approve them. Once he's been pre-approved, Chuck will get an email saying, hey, you've been pre-approved by your chapter. Would you like to start the renewal process? They can then click that link and do the approval, do the renewal as we just did a few minutes ago. And really, that's all there is to it when it comes to pre-approving a member. All right, so that's the pre-approval. Let's take a look at the post-approval. So the next part of this is if you have not pre-approved a member and they just went in and they submitted their application maybe on that 60-day reminder, or maybe it's the day before they're due for renewal. In any case, they have now submitted their renewal and they need to be approved. There's two different ways that you can go in and post-approve a member. The first of which is you will get, again, an email notification as the Vice President and Membership Committee, Director, Consultant, etc., saying, hey, congratulations, a member just submitted an online renewal. You need to go and approve this now, and there'll be a link in that email to go and approve it. The second way is if you missed that email or if you deleted it and can't find it, whatever it might be, you can always go into the pending members and take a look at that and do the approval from there. So let's take a look at that and take a look at what that looks like. So the pending members are going to be found. This is under operations. So if I go to operations and I go to manage memberships, we should see view pending applications. And here we can see the one that was submitted a little while ago. So Ricky Martin, he went in and submitted a renewal application. I can see that he chose to pay by check. I can also see that it was a renewal. You'll also see pending new applications in here if you have any of those. I can see when they submitted it and that the status is submitted, which gives me the option now to approve this one. So if I click approve, this is essentially the same exact screen that we saw before with all of the performance reviews. I could click training details to go and look at his profile. One of the differences is that we now have this option to view the full application. So I could click the PDF icon here and I can open up the application and review any of his answers before then checking to make sure I certify that all necessary membership performance reviews have been done. And at this point, I can approve or decline it. Approving the membership is pretty simple. You just approve it. Declining, just a quick note about declining a membership. You can decline that renewal. However, it will not notify the member. I repeat, it will not notify the member. Any notification of the member has to be done directly by the membership committee. Usually it's done by the control letter that tells them that we have denied your application and are opening up the category. Just to repeat, that is not an automated process. It also, if you do an approval that is conditional, we also, again, we don't monitor that. Both the denial and the conditional letter, all this is going to do is put a note into their membership record saying that it was done, that it was denied, or that it was a conditional approval. The other thing it does not do, it does not end their membership. So let's say that a member was just renewing early, like maybe 3, 4, 5 months early, and you just weren't ready to approve them yet. The member still has paid for the rest of that time unless you are removing them from the chapter, but just approving the renewal does not kick them out of the chapter. They still have the rest of their time remaining of that membership. But I'm going to go ahead and approve Ricky Martin here. We want to keep him up in the Burr chapter. And now we'll see that the options are no longer there. And essentially, this operation is now done from a leadership team standpoint. So from a member standpoint, you really only have one thing to do, and that is go in and submit your application. And from a leadership team standpoint, the VP essentially just has one button to click, which is to either approve or decline the membership. So again, just to review, as far as the approval process goes, the membership committee reviews the renewal application and member performance. Again, this is done in person. This is done as part of a membership committee meeting. And the process in BNI Connect is not a voting process. It is just a rendering of that decision, which is done usually by the vice president, though by default, the other members of the leadership team have access to do that as well, such as the secretary, treasurer, and president. And finally, the last step of this process, which we're not really going to review today, is that the region will then review and reconcile any of those transactions. In the case of a declined renewal, those do need to be voided from the reconcile screen. As I mentioned before, there are a bunch of notifications that go out as part of this process. Before the renewal, there's up to 4 different emails that go out. There's the membership committee renewal notification and the member renewal notification that go out 90 and 60 days respectively. You can see the people that it's going to, the director, consultant, the vice president, secretary, treasurer, and membership committee for the renewal notification. And then for the member one, just the member gets that one at 60 days. We also have the member opt-out. So as part of that renewal reminder email, the member does have the option to say, you know what, I'm not ready to renew at this time. There's a little fine print in there. If the member clicks that, once again, just like the decline or the denial of the renewal, it does not kick them out of the chapter. All it does is send a notification saying, hey, leadership team, just be advised, this member said at this point that they are not going to be renewing. I kind of look at this sometimes also as a way to, it's a good notification to reach out to that member and find out what might be preventing them from renewing. And again, there's that pre-approved that the member will get saying, congratulations, would you like to renew now? During the online renewal, a bunch of people get notified as to what step of the process they're in, when the payment was received, if an offline payment was sent, to keep an eye out for a check, for example, when the online renewal was received, and if the member made any of those detail changes. So if they changed their name or they changed their category, a separate email is sent saying, warning, 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 some changes were made. Here's what it was before, here's what it is now. And then after the online renewal, if the approval was done post, then there is an email that goes along with that. If the member is approved but they had not yet paid, then it is another email will go out saying, hey, you've been approved. Can you please go ahead and finish the payment now? There's also announcements for approvals and declines. Now, just to put this in a different view, this is the exact same thing, but it's just showing who gets which emails. So for example, if you happen to be a vice president, you're probably going to get the most emails during this process. You get the 90-day reminder, the opt-out, if the payment was sent, if a payment was received, member detail changes, the approve, or the decline. And as I mentioned, if you would like a copy of this PowerPoint, just download it from the handouts section of this webinar. If you happen to be listening to the recording at some time in the future, then please just send an email to support@bniconnect.com. Again, that is support@bniconnect.com. and we will be happy to get this information to you. So what I'd like to do is open this up for any questions. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever about the online renewal process and or anything in BNI Connect? I'd be happy to answer those questions. And while you're thinking of any questions, I'll just leave you with a couple of support resources for you. Again, you can always find this information and more on the support site at support.bniconnect.com. We do have a YouTube channel. I will be uploading the recording of today's webinar to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. I'd love it if you gave us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. And of course, you can always email us at support@bniconnect.com. All right, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? So Brad says, how do we determine when renewal date is for leadership members or ambassadors? It only shows that dues are suspended. Great question. Let me show you that. I'm going to go back in here to BNI Connect, and let's go to the, you always find it from the membership dues report. So if we go to the chapter level reports, and we're going to go to the membership dues report. So you'll see that here, for example, Adam Sandler, he's currently our president, and he has what's called term plus 1 months. Now, same thing for fees suspended, 82 months in this case. What that means is that when they stop serving in their position, they will have 1 month left on the membership. So when they stop serving in their position, whether that's an ambassador or whether that's a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, their dues will start ticking and their renewal date is reset at that point. So let's say that, Adam Sandler, he is going to be in position until October 1st. That's when the new president will come in. So on October 1st, when he steps out of the position, he will have 1 month left on his membership, meaning his renewal date will end up being November 1st. Now, let's say that he doesn't make it all the way to October. He says, listen, I don't really have enough time for this. I need to step down from being president. Let's say that he steps down on July 1st. Well, because he has 1 month left on his membership, his new renewal date will end up being August 1st. And it's the same thing for Art Garfunkel there, who has 22 months. Whenever he stops serving, 22 months will be added to that period of time, and his dues will start ticking again. Does that make sense, Brad? Does that help? So essentially, somebody that's in position or somebody that is serving as an ambassador, let's say, they do not have to go through the renewal process while they are serving because their dues are frozen during that time. That's the compensation. So I do know a lot of people get confused and they say, well, you know what? I just served 6 months as president. How come I only have a month left? Don't I get 6 months added on top? And you don't get the time added on top. You get the time that you are serving as being frozen. But excellent question, Brad. All right, any other questions? Any other questions at all? I love answering questions. All right, so, well, we are at the bottom of the hour, pretty much exactly. So what I'd like to say is there are no more questions. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today and learning a little bit more about BNI Connect. By the way, if you found this webinar helpful, I would love it. A good referral for me is to click on this question mark and then, oh, sorry about that. I'm in as an admin user, so let me just get there a different way here. When I go in as an admin user, it loads a different screen. So what I'd love it is if you clicked on the question mark, went to BNI Connect support site and take a look at this May 2016 webinar series. A good referral for me is to have somebody from your chapter, especially if it's a new member, sign up for one of these webinars. We do a whole complete series of webinars throughout the month to go through pretty much all of BNI Connect, and we're starting that series up on May 9th, and we're going to start with how to complete your profile. Then we're going to talk about how to use the online referrals and one-to-ones and how to submit and track all your slips. Then we're going to talk about connecting with other members, how to use the social media aspect of BNI Connect. We then do a deep dive into the member-facing tools and reports. And then finally, we talk about inviting and registering visitors. And then we'll also do the rest of our leadership team webinars as well. And that series is repeated every month. So as you get new members into your chapter, please send them to these webinars. That would be absolutely awesome. And everything is recorded so that you can go back and review it later. All right, so on that note, thank you guys again so much. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar, and happy connecting.